Well, a bill awaiting Governor Pritzker's signature would create a path for carbon capture pipelines in Illinois. An agreement between industry and environmental groups. The plan creates a regulatory framework allowing carbon capture projects. Illinois Capitol Bureau Chief Max Cotton explains the plan.
As Illinois looks to meet its lofty goals set in the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, it needs to find new ways to go carbon-free. That's why lawmakers lifted the nuclear power plant moratorium in 2023 and why they're interested in carbon capture and sequestration projects. However,
right now, Illinois has almost no regulation on this space, no safeguards to keep our environment and our communities safe as we explore this new technology.
That's why industry, labor, and environmental groups worked together this spring to find a compromise to allow and regulate CCS pipelines in Illinois. The bill would put a moratorium on projects until July of 2026 unless the federal government finalizes updated CO2 safety rules first. It would also create emergency and environmental justice funds, as well as require the pipelines to be monitored for at least 30 years.
We are capturing our carbon, we are doing it in a safe manner, and we're making our environment better than it was before this bill.
Not everyone's on board with the bill. Agriculture groups, including the Illinois Farm Bureau, are upset about the lack of protection for property owners who could have carbon pipelines running under their land without required adequate compensation. If 75% of landowners in the pipeline's path agree to be part of the project, the company can petition the Illinois Department of Natural Resources to require the remaining holdouts to join.
This is a taking. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When you force a landowner into an impossible position where they either have to accept less than what they would have otherwise accepted or get zero, that's a taking. It's unconstitutional on its face.
Williams says landowners would be able to present their case to the DNR, including what they consider to be fair compensation and market value. In Springfield, Max Cotton, WGEM News.